So welcome to all of you Shiksha 360. And today basically we will discuss chapter number 22 part 4. Clear? That is chapter number 22 is human implications of organizations. Clear? That is ABM chapter number 22. In this session basically we will discuss some theories. Clear? Some behavioral theories. Like first one basically we will discuss psychoanalytic theory. And after that basically we will discuss trait theory. Clear? These are very important for your examination point of view, and we will discuss in detail so that you will able to understand what the concept says. Clear? What is the actual concept? So let's start our session. So basically there are certain common patterns. Clear? Basically there are certain common patterns and variables which determine the personality of the people. Clear? Basically there are certain common patterns or variables basically which determine the personality of the people. And the patterns of behavior. Clear? The patterns of behavior can be to some extent predicted. Clear? The patterns of the behavior can be to some extent. Clear? Can be to some extent predicted if we identify the type of personality. Clear? Basically these behavior patterns can be up to some extent basically we can predict it when basically if we identify the type of the personality. Clear? So people with the similar attributes. Clear? Basically people with similar attributes basically can be classified in one category and their behavior can be predicted. Clear? So accordingly experts have developed certain personality theory. Clear? Accordingly experts have developed certain personality theories. Clear? So let's start with that. So first one basically we have seen in the screen, that is id, ego, superego. Clear? So what under which theory it comes? Basically it comes under the psychoanalytical theory. Clear? Psychoanalytical. Clear? In the examination they will directly ask regarding all these terms. Clear? It basically means that I want this. Clear? What is the meaning of it? Basically I want this. Ego basically means that let's work on it. Clear? Ego basically means that let's work on it. Clear? And superego basically means that this is not the way to get it. Clear? Basically this is not the way to get it. Clear? So basically what is the meaning of all these things? Let's start our discussion on that. First one is the psychoanalytical theory. Clear? Here first one is the psychoanalytical theory. So basically this theory is given by the Sigmund Freud. Not Freud, basically Freud. Clear? So basically psychoanalytical theory, it is primarily based on the Freudian concept of unconsciousness, subconsciousness, and consciousness. Clear? Basically unconsciousness, basically it, subconsciousness, ego, and consciousness, basically we can say that superego. Clear? So basically it is primarily based on the Freudian concept of unconsciousness, subconsciousness, and consciousness nature of a personality. Clear? Basically what Freud noted that his patient's behavior could not always be explained. This led to him believe that the personality structure is similarly founded on unconscious framework, and that the human behavior and motivation, clear, that the human behavior and motivation basically are the outcome of the psychoanalytic elements. Clear? Basically are the outcome of the psychoanalytical elements. Clear? That is id, ego, and the super ego. Clear? Before moving towards that, basically let's discuss basically what is the main examples or how we can understand id, super, and ego. Id, ego, and super ego. Clear? So what is the meaning of id? In basically in the first slide basically we'll discuss that I want this. I want this basically it means that meeting basic needs. Clear? It basically means that meeting a basic needs. Clear? So basically the id is the most basic part of the personality. It is also represents our most animalistic. Clear? It also represents our most animalistic urges like the desire for food and sex. The id seeks instant gratification for our wants and needs. Clear? Basically it seeks instant gratification or fulfillment for our wants and needs. Clear? If these wants or needs are not met, a person can become tense, anxious, and angry. Clear? Basically if these wants or needs are not met, a person becomes tense, anxious, or angry. Clear? Basically, if any student facing noise issue, then I request to all of you please join again. Clear? So clear it is basically what is the meaning of it. So let's discuss some definition on the basis of that. Like Sally was thirsty. Rather than waiting for the servant, we can say that servant, to refill her glass, clear, or we can waiter, to refill her glass of water, she reached across the table and drank from Mr. Smith's water glass, much to his surprise. Clear? Or a hungry baby cried until he was fed. A toddler who wanted another helping of dessert whined incessantly until she was given another serving. Clear? So basically it means that basically there are more desire. Clear? Basically seeks instant gratification for our wants and needs. Clear? Basically there are some other examples also. You can go through that. Clear? Basically my main motive is basically you can understand the meaning of it. Clear? Because many students know that basically in the psychoanalytical theory there are it, ego and superego. Clear? But they are not able to understand basically what is the meaning of that. Clear? So basically in the starting we will discuss that I want it. I want it basically means that meeting a basic needs. Clear? Next one basically which we have discussed, that is ego. Ego basically means that let's work on it. Clear? So what is the meaning of that? Ego basically means that let's work on it or dealing with the reality. Clear? Or dealing with the reality. Clear? So basically the ego here basically deals with the reality. Clear? Ego here basically deals with the reality, trying to meet the desires of the id. Clear? Basically trying to meet the desires of the id in a way basically that is socially acceptable in the world. Clear? Basically ego basically means that basically to fulfill the desires of the id basically in the way of socially acceptable means. Clear? In the way of socially acceptable means. So this may mean delaying gratification and helping to get rid of the tension. Clear? This may means delaying gratification and helping to get rid of the tension that it feels if a desire is not met right way. Clear? Basically if a desire is not met right way. Clear? Basically the ego recognizes that other people have needs and wants to. Clear? Their ego basically recognizes that other people have needs and wants to, and being selfish is not good in the long run. Clear? And being selfish basically is not good in the long run. Clear? So basically let's discuss the same thing, same example here, that is Sally was thirsty. Clear? Basically in the previous time basically what they will do, basically rather than waiting for the server to fill her glass of water, she reached across the table and drank from Mr. Smith's water glass, much to his surprise. Clear? So here but what they will do, however she know that her server would be back soon to refill her water glass, so she waited until to get a drink, even though she really just wanted to drink from Mr. Smith glass. Clear? So basically I think all of you able to understand basically what is the basic difference between the id and the ego. Clear? Basically what is the basic difference between the id and the ego. Now third one basically the superego. Clear? Now third one basically which we have to understand here is the super ego. Clear? Basically the super ego basically means that adding morals. Clear? Basically super ego basically means that adding morals. So let's discuss with that image also. Basically it means that this is not the way to get it. Clear? Basically this is not the way to get it. Write it here. Basically this is not the way to get. Clear? Basically means that superego basically means that adding morals. Clear? So basically the superego develops last and it is basically based on the morals and judgment. Clear? And it is basically based on the morals and judgment basically about the right or wrong. Clear? The superego here basically develops last and it is basically based on the moral and judgment basically about the right or wrong. Clear? Even though the superego and the ego, clear, even though the superego and the ego they reach the same decision. Clear? Even though basically the superego and the ego basically may reach the same decision about something, the superego reasons, clear, basically the superego reasons for that decision is based more on moral values. Clear? The superego reason basically for that decision basically is based more on the moral values, while the ego decision is basically based on more on what others will think or what the consequences of an action could be on the individual. Clear? So basically just remember that basically the superego decision is based more on the moral values, while the ego decision is basically based more on what others will think or what the consequences of an action could be on the individual. Here Sarah know that she could steal the supplies from work and no one would know about it. However, she know that the stealing was wrong. Clear? However, she know that the stealing was wrong. So she decided, clear? So she decided not to take anything, even though she would probably never get caught. Clear? Even she knows that she never get caught. Clear? But his basically, but his behavior will not allow to do the stealing. Clear? But his behavior will not allow to do the stealing. Clear? That basically comes under the superego. Clear? That basically comes under the superego. Clear? So basically, please tell fast. It is clear to all of you basically what is ego, what is it, basically what is ego and what is superego. And you will definitely get question from that in the examination. Clear? That's why basically we will discuss in detail all these things. So let's move back towards. So basically ego, id. Basically here we will discuss unconsciousness, subconsciousness and consciousness. Clear? So it is basically the foundation of the unconsciousness. It basically strives for the sexual pleasure and other biological pleasures and has animal instincts of aggression, power and domination. Clear? And has animal instincts of aggression, power and domination. Clear? Next one is the ego. Clear? Basically ego is consciousness in a nature. Clear? Basically what is ego? Ego is basically consciousness in nature and relates our consciousness urges. Clear? Basically and relates our consciousness urges basically to the outside world. It keeps it. Clear? Basically it keeps it in check through the realities of the external environment. Clear? Basically it keeps it in check through the realities of the external environment. Basically while it demands immediate pleasure, whatever the cost, ego controls it so that these pleasures are granted at an appropriate time and in an acceptable manner. Clear? Basically and in an acceptable manner. Clear? That is basically known as the ego. Clear? Next one here, basically because of difficulty of keeping the id under control, ego is just supported by the superego. Clear? Basically ego is just supported by the superego. Clear? Basically the superego is the higher level restraining force. Clear? The superego basically it is the higher level restraining force and can be described as the conscience. Clear? And can be described as the conscience of the person. Clear? The conscience basically means that creates a standard of what is wrong and what is right, and it is generally subconsciously developed by the absorption of culture and ethical values of the social environment. Clear? And ethical values of the social environment. Clear? Hope it is clear to all of you. Basically let's little bit discussion, basically let little bit explanation again basically in Hindi as one or two students are facing issue. Basically यहाँ पर हम कहना क्या चाहते हैं कि जो आपकी साइको एनालिटिकल थ्योरी है वो बेसिकली बिहेवियर को कैसे जांच करती है, बेसिकली उसको तीन पार्ट्स में अकॉर्डिंग इड, ईगो एंड सुपर ईगो. क्लियर? इड, ईगो एंड सुपर ईगो. जो आपका इड होता है बेसिकली वो आपका अनकॉन्शियस होता है. ईगो बेसिकली लिटिल बिट कॉन्शियस, वी कैन से दैट सब कॉन्शियस. एंड जो आपका सुपर ईगो होता है बेसिकली जो आपका बेसिकली वी कैन से दैट जो प्रॉपर वे से काम करता है, दैट इज बेसिकली कम्स अंडर द सुपर ईगो. क्लियर? सो नाउ नेक्स्ट मूव टुवर्ड्स द next discussion. So basically all these three Freudian elements, clear? All these three Freudian elements, clear? Basically which three? It, ego and super are interrelated. Clear? Basically id, ego and super ego basically are interrelated and each cannot exist in isolation from others. Clear? Basically and each cannot exist in isolation from another. So in order to create a normal personality, clear? Basically in order to create a normal personality, there must be a balance in the relationship among these three forces. Clear? Basically there must be a relationship or there must be a balance in the relationship among these three forces. Clear? अगर एक पर्सन को नॉर्मल पर्सनैलिटी चाहिए, क्लियर? बेसिकली इन ऑर्डर टू क्रिएट अ नॉर्मल पर्सनैलिटी, क्लियर? नॉर्मल बिहेवियर के लिए तीनों में क्या होना चाहिए? बैलेंस होना चाहिए. क्लियर? इन तीनों फोर्सेस में. क्लियर? देयर मस्ट बी अ बैलेंस इन द रिलेशनशिप बेसिकली अमंग दीस थ्री फोर्सेस, इड, ईगो एंड सुपर ईगो. क्लियर? Basically let's discuss here. There is one more example. Basically for example an overdeveloped superego, clear, basically would make the person highly moral and make him feel guilty for every little thing that slightly deviates from the norm, clear. So this would not be considered practical or rational, clear. Similarly, an underdeveloped superego, clear, basically would let it urges loose and would categorize the person as one having weak morals and values, clear, as one having weak morals and values, clear. So it depends upon case to case, clear, basically it depends upon case to case, clear. So you have to understand all these things, and it leads to the completion of our psychoanalytical theory, clear, psychoanalytical theory, clear. So please tell fast, this theory is clear to all of you or not? And when they will ask any question from that, definitely you will answer the question, clear. Now definitely you will answer the question now, and just you have to remember that basically this theory, psychoanalytical theory, it is given by Sigmund Freud, clear, this Freud, Sigmund Freud. Now move to the next one theories, that is trait theory, clear. Now next one, basically we will move to next theory, that is a trait theory, clear. So can anyone tell basically what is the meaning of trait here? Can anyone basically tell basically what is the meaning of trait here? Basically trait basically means that special, yes, symptoms, some students say that symptoms. So basically journal we will discuss that what is the meaning of trait, basically mean that characteristics, clear, basically we can say that characteristics. There are different meanings, but here basically we will discuss that basically characteristics, clear, how the person is behaved, clear, characteristics, or basically we can write symptoms, basically how the person is behaving with others, clear, or specialty of the person, clear, or specialty of the person. Like we can say that in Hindi, that is visheshta, clear, that is specialty, how the person is behaving with the others, clear. So basically trait theory, clear, basically trait theory believes that the traits of a person, clear, that the characteristics of a person basically which determine his personality and behavior are the basically inherent to a person, clear, are basically inherent to a person, that is more of a heredity impact than the environment, clear. Sorry, basically that is more of a heredity impact than the environment, clear. So basically trait theory explains, clear, basically trait theory explains personality, clear, basically trait theory explains basically personality as a demonstration, clear, basically trait theory explains personality basically as a demonstration of certain traits of the individual, clear, characteristics of the individual. While there are many traits common to most people, there are many other traits that are unique to a person and are not shared by other individuals, clear, basically there are some common features in all the individuals, and there are some other features also basically which is unique to the individual, clear. So basically on the basis of the trait theory, clear, basically on the basis of the trait theory, people can be described as, how basically it can be described as, either it can be described as aggressive, loyal, pleasant, flexible, humorous, sentimental, impulsive, cool, and so on, clear. Basically these are the different characteristics, clear. Basically traits are the basic elements of the personality and can be used to explain their behavior, clear, basically, and can be used to explain their behavior, clear. Basically people behaving in a forceful manner, clear, basically people behaving in a forceful manner in most situations, clear, basically people behaving in a forceful manner in most situations could be described as aggressive, clear, basically people behaving in a forceful manner in most situations, clear, basically can be described as aggressive, clear. Similarly, if a person allows other, clear, similarly if a person allows other to take the initiative, basically he is a submissive, clear. So you have to remember both things, basically people behaving in a forceful manner, clear, basically people behaving in a forceful manner in most situations, clear, basically in most situations could be described as aggressive, basically could be described as aggressive, clear. Similarly, if a person allows others, clear, basically similarly if a person allows others to take the initiative, clear, similarly if a person allows others basically to take the initiative, clear, like A and B, clear, A is already doing any business and A is guiding here B to do the business, clear. So basically it means that a person allows another to take the initiative, that is basically say that basically here A is a submissive, clear, here A is submissive, clear. Basically on the other hand, if A will take over the business basically, or if A will not guiding the B, clear. So basically we can say that A is aggressive, clear, because he is doing their individual doing their business and not allowing to do the business, basically not allowing others to do the business, clear. That is the meaning of that, clear. So basically next theory, clear, this is basically the complete discussion of the trait theory, clear. Next basically we will discuss that is self concept theory, clear. That is self concept theory, clear. So let's discuss regarding that. So basically this theory, clear, basically this theory believes that the personality and behavior, clear, this theory basically believes that the personality and behavior basically are to a great extent, clear, basically personality and behavior basically are to a great extent basically determined by the individual himself, clear. Personality and behavior basically are to a great extent basically determined by the individual himself. We have an image, clear, basically we have an image of our own, clear, basically we have an image of our own and our actions would be consistent with that image, clear, basically we have an image of our own and our actions basically would be consistent with that image, clear. Basically Carl Rogers is closely associated with this theory, clear. Carl Rogers basically is closely associated with this theory, clear. According to him, clear, according to him, the best vantage point, clear, vantage point for understanding behavior is from the internal frame of reference, clear. Basically the best vantage point for understanding the behavior basically from where, basically from the internal frame of reference of the individual himself, clear. And individual himself basically it is the center of experience, clear. The individual himself basically is the center of the experience, clear. His self image, his self image is an integral of how he views himself, clear. His self image basically it is an integral of how he views himself and his perception of how others view him, clear. And his perception of how others views him, clear. So basically this concept, self concept, clear, this a self concept, it is a result of a person's interaction with the environment, clear. Basically this a self concept, basically it is a result of the person's interaction, clear. It is a result of the person's interaction with his environment, clear. So this interaction, clear, basically this interaction in the form of learning experience, clear, basically this interaction in the form of learning experience basically help us to grow and mature, clear, help us to grow and mature, and we modify our self concept, clear, and we modify our self concept as a result of these experiences, clear. Basically this interaction in the form of learning experience basically help us to grow and mature, and we modify our self concept as a result of these experiences, clear. And we modify our self concept basically as a result of these experiences, clear. Basically this comes under the self concept theory, clear. Basically this comes under the self concept theory. So when we get positive feedback, clear, basically when we will get positive feedback from the others, basically in a response to our behavior, basically our self concept is positively reinforced. On the other hand, basically when we will get negative feedback, our self regard is lowered and resulting in tension and anxiety, clear, and resulting in tension and anxiety, clear. So does an imply with the self concept, clear, basically does an imply basically with the self concept of high intelligence, clear, does an imply basically with the self concept of high intelligence, interdependence and confidence, clear. So thus an employee basically with the self concept of high intelligence, interdependence and confidence may not look for such reinforcement techniques as monetary rewards, job security or directive supervision, clear. So does an employee with the self concept of high intelligence, interdependence and confidence, clear, may not look for such reinforcement techniques, clear, basically such as monetary rewards, job security or directive supervision, clear. He may look for a challenging environment, clear. Basically what he may look for a challenging environment where he gets recognition for his good work, clear, responsibility and achievement, clear. Basically on the other hand, the monetary rewards and the job security, clear, the monetary rewards and the job security basically may be more effective on employees, clear. The monetary rewards and the job security basically may be more effective on employees who have a self concept of, clear, basically who have a self concept of dependence, insecurity and who lacks confidence in themselves, clear. On the other hand, the monetary rewards and job securities, clear, the monetary rewards and job securities basically may be more effective on employees, clear, basically may be job security basically may be more effective on employees who have a self concept of dependence, clear, basically who have a self concept of dependence, insecurity and who lack confidence in themselves, clear, and who lack confidence in themselves. Clear? So basically this is known as the self concept theory. Clear? Basically this is the brief discussion of the self concept theory. And the next one here is to basically the social learning theory. Clear? Social learning theory. Clear? And hope it is clear to all of you, and please don't get confused with these theories. Clear? These are very easy to understand. These are basically very basic things. Clear? These are very basic things. Clear? So basically this theory believes that, clear, basically this theory believes that the personality development, clear, basically this theory believes that the personality development is more as a result of social variables than the biological factors. Clear? Basically what this theory believes that the personality development is more as a result of social variables than the biological factors. Like initially psychoanalytical theory basically tell that basically it is basically based on the biological factors, and here basically tell that basically it is basically more based on the social variables. Clear? Basically most of the human behavior is either learned or modified by the learning. Clear? So basically through learning one acquires knowledge, attitude, value, skills, etc. Clear? Basically through the learning basically one acquires knowledge, attitudes, value, skills, etc. Clear? Basically further motives can be traced to known. Clear? Basically further motives can be traced to known and consciousness needs of the individual. Clear? Basically further motives can be traced to known and conscious needs of the individuals. Clear? Basically personality. Here basically personality is the sum total. Clear? Personality is the sum total. Clear? Basically personality, what is basically personality? Personality is the sum total of all. Clear? Basically personality is the sum total of all that a person has learned. Clear? Basically that a person has learned. Clear? So this the social learning theory basically used reinforcement and punishment approach in understanding personality. Clear? You have to remember that basically the social learning theory. Clear? Basically the social learning theory basically uses reinforcement and punishment approach. Clear? Basically the social learning theory uses reinforcement and punishment approach. Clear? Basically and punishment approach basically in understanding the personality. Clear? So basically one thing basically we have to tell basically through learning basically one can acquire knowledge, attitude, and value skills. So basically what we have to include under the value skills. Clear? Basically some are facing problems. So value skills basically we can say that like honesty, self-confidence, clear, adaptability. Clear? All these things. Clear? Basically all these things basically comes under the value skills. Clear? All these things basically comes under the value skills. Clear? For example here, if frustration caused by the external environment, clear, frustration caused by the external environment causes and reinforces aggression. Clear? As a personality trait. Clear? Basically frustration caused by the external environment causes and reinforces aggression basically as a personality trait. Clear? Also good behavior. Clear? Also good behavior is rewarded by the society in the terms of praise, which further reinforces good behavior. Clear? Basically also good behavior basically it is rewarded by the society. Basically how? Basically in the terms of praise basically which further reinforces good behavior. Clear? So basically thus good behavior and external environment. Clear? Basically thus the behavior and the external environment basically have a mutual interaction. Clear? Behavior partially creates a person environment and the environmental affects the person's behavior as well. Clear? So behavior partially creates a person environment. Clear? Basically behavior partially creates a person environment and the environment. Clear? Basically and the environment basically affects the person's behavior as well. Clear? And the environment basically affects a person's behavior well. Clear? So you have to remember that basically behavior creates the environment and environment creates a person's behavior. Clear? Both affect each other. Clear? Basically both affect each other. And this is basically the brief discussion of the social learning theory, and it says that basically personality development is more as a result of social variables than the biological factors. Clear? Basically than the biological factors. Clear? So there are some true or false given in that. Basically I request to all of you please go through that. Basically answers I have already mentioned. Like first one is it is the foundation of the unconsciousness. That is true. Clear? Unconsciousness. If they have mentioned that basically which of the following is the foundation of the subconsciousness. Clear? Which of the following is the foundation of the subconsciousness, then that is basically we can say that ego. Clear? And consciousness basically for that basically we have to super ego. Clear? Basically we have to super ego. Clear? Next one basically in order to create a normal personality. Clear? Basically there should be a balance in the relationship between among the id, ego, and the superego. Yes, this is true. Clear that this is true. Clear. So I request to all of you, please go through all these things. Basically, all these true false are mentioned in your book. Clear, are mentioned in your book. Basically, in the book, basically there are answers are not given. So basically, we'll provide you to the answers here. Clear. So basically, it leads to the completion of this session. Clear. Basically, in this session, basically we have discussed the four theories, that is social learning theory, self-concept theory, trait theory, and the psychoanalytical theory. Clear. And definitely you will get 1 or 2 marks questions in your examination basically from this. Clear. In this chapter, basically these are important theories, and after that basically motivation. Clear. Motivational theories are very important. Clear, for your examination point of view. Clear. So that's why basically we will discuss in detail one by one. Clear. So thanks to all of you for attending this session, and hope it is clear to all of you basically what we have discussed in that. Clear. In the next session basically we will cover other concept of this chapter. Clear. So thanks to all of you for attending this session.